You're all set.
Good morning, everyone. This is the meeting of the Downtown Facilities Special Committee. It's Tuesday, June 3rd. It's 9:04 a.m. and we're calling the meeting to order. Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none. Any public comment? Moving right along. Chair report. I'll just say this is a really important meeting. This is where we decide the next steps and how quickly we're going to move forward on the Center of Government building, which I don't like the name of, and that's all I have. Ann Corman just joined us, so there's Mike Lane, Greg Muzzy, Ann Corman, and myself here, and that's the full committee. Can I get somebody move the minutes approval for May 6th? Greg, second. Ann, all in favor? Minutes approved. We're going to move right on to the county administrator, and it's the report discussion temporary departmental space needs.
Thank you. Before I move into to discuss the temporary space needs, I'll pivot to Ariel and Quay to go through what we've done, and then I think the space needs is a supplement to what the presentation that Quay has for us.
Sounds good. Take it away, Ariel.
All right, well, I will actually turn it over to Quay to go over the tasks that we've completed over the last month and what we're projecting to complete moving forward. So I'll give him a chance to bring that up.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so we were asked to give a little bit of a project update status on things that have progressed since the last meeting when we were here. I believe this committee, the last time we were here was in March. So we'll give you an update on that, a little bit of an introduction to the community engagement process that will be starting next week, and where sort of the development that's happened there, and then where we are with each of the three sort of sub-projects of center government, the deconstruction project, the new building project, and the renovation projects. So again, just to touch base on the three goals, which we want to keep clear in everyone's head as we're developing the project. This project is about consolidating government services into a single campus, many in a single building, to deliver clear and accessible services to the residents of Tompkins County in a one-stop format. We want to improve the quality of workspace for county government employees by providing every employee efficient and well-conditioned space with access to natural light and views. And we want to reduce the long-term costs of government services by getting out of existing leases and consolidating departments into single flexible office building that'll serve the county for the next century. In terms of the overall schedule, and I'm just going to hit a couple sort of high points at the top here. The dashed blue line represents where we were in March when we were in front of this committee last, and today, the beginning of June, is represented by the green vertical line on the page. So again, the SHPO work has been completed and has been successful. We have not finalized the LOR at this point. We just need to get a lead agent assigned from New York State, and that sort of requires us to get someone that is willing to talk to us about funding, which we're talking to a couple agencies about right now. IT relocation, also successful. Kevin was here actually at a different meeting a couple of weeks ago. Hadn't been started in March, is now complete and near the process of getting started in the relocation. The logistics for that are almost hammered out. The parking and traffic study, the data collection portion of that work is complete. We're in the process of getting sign-in sheets to every department so we can track actual visitor data to each department, and we also want to track the stay length, so the duration that person is there, so we can get a real not anecdotal data, but really hard data on how many people are visiting each department and how long their stay is, to give us a better sense of the parking needs. When we did the interviews with all the departments in the program verification phase, we got some anecdotal information about how many parking spots each department felt that they needed, but how many simultaneous parking spots we really need for each of these 17 departments at one time. We're collecting better data on that through sign-in sheets at each department. Like parking, the risk analysis and security design data collecting is done. So our consultant has, contacted Ithaca City Police, pulled records from the past 5 years, has a good understanding of the threats, and we are scheduling, or we have scheduled a couple kickoff meetings. Our scheduling meetings with different county departments or else staff in terms of what expectations and standards they already have in place for security protocols throughout county buildings. The survey work is complete, and the utility capacity analysis is started. So TG Miller has reached out and has been communicating with the city, has a good understanding of the water needs. They're doing flow tests on the meter. So I think that work is scheduled to be completed in about another month. And then what I want to share with you sort of in a little bit of detail is this legislature and community engagement phase. We've had 2 meetings with the team. The team that is sort of collaborating on community engagement includes both Ann and Mike. It's also Arel, Megan, Katie, Corsa, and Monica, right? Who's been fantastic in terms of building a project website and sort of making sure that anything we present is not just in English, but in Chinese and Spanish, and she's doing a wonderful job. So let me show you just quickly a couple slides from that presentation, and then one of the slides sort of details for the residents what the community engagement process is going to look like. So I'll just use that slide to talk a little bit more with you about the community engagement process. So in June, and I think the next meeting is actually next Wednesday, we have the first meeting. We're thinking that a legislature will kick off that meeting. There'll be 5 of them in different areas of the county. I think that, Ann and Mike will probably be present, but we might also want to at least coordinate with local legislators so that they're present for, if we're sitting in their district. They'll kick off the meeting. Monica will also sort of MC the meeting as the county communications person, but pass it off to Arel, who will talk about some of the project history. And then Corsa will talk about some of the vision and goals that the county has for the project, why we're doing this project, and what the expected outcomes are. And then Holt will take these next 4 or 5 slides. We'll review with the residents remind them all the services that are available that the county provides and show them the locations of all of them, so that then we can talk about how the vision, part of the vision is to consolidate most of the services into the old jail, old courthouse, and then a new building which will reside someplace in this dashed line at the current location of the 308 Tioga, 300 Tioga, and 128 Buffalo. We'll talk about all of the departments that will be involved in this project and the relocation and where they'll land in the final project. And then explain that this is about as far as we've developed the project in terms of design. We have a sense of, which floor, which department will be on, and this will start to also speak to relationships that departments can, start to think about and develop amongst themselves in terms of adjacencies and efficiencies. Spend a minute on this slide for you. This is also where we'll explain to the residents what the community engagement process will look like. In June, we'll host a series of 5 meetings. 4 of them will be at different municipalities around Ithaca. The final meeting will be in Ithaca in this room, and it'll also be virtual. So only one meeting will be virtual. The meeting here will be available to everyone. This first meeting is really a project introduction and information gathering. So part of the first meeting, we have a survey of 21 questions that we're going to put out to residents. They can just click on a QR code. They can do it on their phone. They can do it in paper at an event, or they can do it through the county website. But we'll be encouraging residents to, sort of give us input through this survey. We have the survey now if anyone is interested in sort of previewing it before it goes out. I know that Mike and Ann have looked at it. Happy to share that with others. But the key outputs from this meeting will be documentation of the county needs and priorities. So we want to, this is really a listening meeting. Before we start to present what we're doing, we wanted to make sure we're in front of the residents and sort of listening to them about, their needs and goals and wishes. We're giving them the opportunity of add project goals. If they have project goal that they've been thinking about, we're asking them to add it as part of that survey. We're looking for stories that illustrate, current challenges that they have with county facilities and access to services. And then we want them to help us identify success metrics from the perspective of their experience and the community. So that same meeting essentially will happen 5 times, and we want to make sure that we're reaching people where they are. Like, we want to provide access to the project through that meeting. The next 2 meetings will likely only happen in the chambers. So the second meeting we'll come back to the county based on the input that they've given us in the first meeting, and we'll share a couple different concepts of what the building might look like. We'll talk about some pros and cons that we've seen as designers, that the facilities department has seen in terms of how they think about it. There will probably be some county pros and cons, maybe legislature pros and cons, but we'll ask the county, the residents of the county, what do you see? What are we missing? Think about this from your perspective. How can we make this better? And the reality when we present multiple concepts is there are things that people like about all of them, and there are a few things that they don't like. And our job then is to take all those things that they really like and combine them into one concept, and make sure that anything that was a negative in any of the concepts, we figure out a way to design that out of the project. So with the input and feedback from that community meeting, we'll come back one final time to the community in September, and we'll share the final design proposal. So what we think the building will be based on all of that feedback, but we're still gathering information and thoughts at that point. So we still have the opportunity after the September meeting to make modifications based on things that we hear and learn in the September meeting. By the time we get, just more for this group, by the time we get to those community engagement meetings, the county and the county administration will have already vetted many of these concepts. So we won't be showing things that just are off the table. So we don't run the risk of falling in love with something that isn't a viable solution for the project. It's really an honest, trying to gather information. And then at the bottom of this slide, you can see there's a QR code, and we'll see this at a couple times, to the project website. So the county has built a project website that will collect all the data about the project. The survey will live on that project website. Questions about community engagement process while we're here? Ann.
So there's also the postcard that Monica is making out, and so that is also going to be available at different departments so that people can pick it up as they're maybe signing in, and they could fill out, the survey online. And then I'm speaking for many of us, but we go to different municipalities, and it'd be nice to be able to pass those out or have them sent out to the different municipalities, the cards, so that people can just pick those up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think she's also coordinating sort of posters or flyers to go up in all the different municipalities,
right,
sort of beginning to advertise for these meetings. Yeah, great.
And did you want to state the dates, the ones next week?
Do you have them in front of you?
Yeah. So Groton, we're doing next Wednesday at 6 p.m. don't have the location on that one.
Town Hall, isn't it?
I think it is Town Hall. And then on the 12th, Thursday, we're doing Enfield.
And for town hall as well.
And that one's at the Town Hall too? Okay. 6 o'clock, same time. And we decided that Enfield would be, include that side of the lake. So we'll invite people from that whole area. And same thing as Groton, but we're also going to do Dryden, or it's another one?
Dryden is on the 16th, Monday, at
16th.
6 p.m. at the Dryden Village Hall.
Okay. 16th at 6 p.m., okay. Just so more of us get the information out, so more of us can try and attend.
Mike?
I don't think I can make all the meetings, just so you're aware of that. So, and I think it's important that the legislator from that particular area probably should be the introducing person, if we could do that.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
I'd like to add, I plan on attending the Enfield one on the 12th, is that what it is? But that's also the Newfield Town Board meetings night, so none of those people will be able to attend, so.
We also have Monday, the 23rd, Caroline, Town Hall confirmed for 6 p.m., and Tuesday, the 24th, it looks like there's the legislator chambers for Ithaca and everyone else.
And everyone in Ithaca.
Yeah.
And that'll be the virtual one. I think Monica has her hand up. She might have all these dates ready for us.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to add, Monica?
Mike?
I just want to add,
I just wanted to say that I sent out invites to all legislators for all meetings, with the understanding that you can't attend all meetings, but just so you have it. And then I would coordinate individually so we know which legislator is going to be at which meeting. So we know, who to introduce and who's going to start us off at the meetings, if that's all right.
Mike, did you have?
I think that sounds great. And I just want to say, Monica, you've done a terrific job putting this together in a very short time. We thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, I see.
So back to the presentation for community engagement. So we will review the whole process of community engagement with the community in each of these kickoff meetings. We will also review the project schedule. There it is, a simplified version of the project schedule for the community, essentially talking through the design phase, and then, so they understand that construction will start, in January 2027 and is scheduled to be completed in November, December of 2028. And then there's also a renovation project that has started already, but the renovation project will happen following the completion of the Center for Government building. But then the important part of these first 5 meetings is really the survey data and a question and comment period. So in the meeting, we're sort of budgeting 20 or 30 minutes for the community to just sort of ask questions about maybe things they've heard, maybe things they're wondering about. They could certainly make suggestions at that point, although there's an opportunity to submit formal suggestions at the end of the survey as well. And then Monica will close with sort of reminding people about next steps and other ways to engage with the project, primarily through the project website. In terms of progress on the new Center of Government building, we have completed program verification. So last time we were here, we were actually just kicking it off, and we've begun schematic design. So we're in the process right now of beginning to develop, multiple concepts and massing options for the building on the site. And that's why sort of this community engagement process will help inform the development of multiple concepts. So moving into sort of developing concepts for the project, In terms of the deconstruction process, we have the documents ready for a demolition project, and we're in the process now of taking those demolition documents, figuring out what can be salvaged and what can be reused and what we might be able to recycle. So we're working with a couple of consultants and Cornell. We've had a couple of meetings with Cornell to sort of figure out, what markets are available for these materials and how we get materials from these buildings into those markets so that the materials can be reused in a meaningful ways. And then finally, in terms of the backfill renovations, a lot of the design for these renovations of old jail and old courthouse, the real design for those projects won't start, until early 2028. But what we wanted to do right up front is really test and develop some concepts for how the departments proposed for those two buildings would fit into those two buildings and what the buildings would look like, so that we know that those departments are satisfied. So we have those presentations ready, and we're in the process of scheduling presentations with those departments so that they can see their future homes, understanding that we're talking 2028 design and 2029 construction. We'll put those projects on the shelf until 2028 because things will change between now and then, but we wanted to make sure that we had a solution in place, before we started really digging into the center government solutions. All the auxiliary stuff is solved. And then the only thing that is not part of this that I believe Arel is and the county is looking into are possible homes for Board of Elections. And as soon as we identify a site, we'll work with the REL to do some test fits and programmatic fitting of those spaces and make sure that we're satisfying their requirements as well.
Any questions for Quay? I have a question.
Yeah.
Has the State Historic Preservation Office given us written approval to remove the buildings, or we're waiting on that?
So they've provided a draft of what the written approval will be, and we've actually been back and forth twice. So we're at a point where we know what the written approval will say, and we're in agreement with them. We just need a lead agent to sign off on it, and the lead agent could be a NYSERDA or Omar from
ESD, Empire State Development.
Right. So, and we actually have a meeting with Omar this afternoon at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. He was gonna call SHPO and say, is there something that we can resolve? Because until we have, it takes even more than a funding application. So the strange thing is, typically, if we were deconstructing these buildings when we were going into construction, we wouldn't be worried about this right now. But because we're deconstructing 2 years before we're building new, we're trying to get all this stuff in place 2 years earlier than you'd typically be worrying about it. So it's not weird that there isn't a lead agent assigned yet, because we're just starting schematic design, but it's complicated for this project because we have this deconstruction piece that's happening so early. Yeah.
Thank you. Another question I have, customer parking for the Center of Government building. Arel mentioned that there's design impacts if we provide parking for customers. Is that, I maybe misunderstood that, but if you design parking for other people other than employees, does that change the design requirements, or like for access for people with disabilities or those kinds of things?
No, yeah, I think it was misunderstood. What I indicated is that once we open up this parking lot to the public, then yes, we would be subject to ADA requirements for, parking, accessible parking spots. So yeah, we're looking at both how we would provide public parking as well as staff parking on the site. And I think that's one of the challenges, and through that one study that we're working with traffic and parking study, we're looking at kind of the options that are available and how we could address not only, public parking, but also maximize staff parking on the site.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions? Ann?
Yeah, thank you for moving ahead with all this stuff so quickly. With going back to the sign-in sheets that are going to be at the various departments, is the mode of transportation going to be on that sign-in sheet for people when they come in?
Right now, it's not. We wanted it to be we want people to do it, so we're trying to make it sort of as simple and quick as we could. We considered, should we ask like how they got there and how, but we opted just for a simple, your name, when the date and time you signed in and the time you signed out, because the critical information is the quantity and the duration. We could add that level of detail, but I think that I guess I'm making an assumption that a lot of people are driving, which might be incorrect. Actually,
Yeah,
it would be easy to
I'm
put a
just-
line on it that said, if you didn't drive here, how did you get here? Yeah, we could add that.
I'm just wondering if, because, I mean, there's a lot of people that live downtown. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we
Yeah,
can assume that, I don't know.
We'll start collecting that data. We'll start collecting data on mode of transportation. I'll get you an updated sign-in sheet and we can distribute those.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Any
Thanks.
other
And
questions?
one more quick question. For the project timeline that you have, can you start putting what the abbreviations mean? It looks like there's probably enough room.
These abbreviations,
Right.
I can, yes, sorry about that.
And I've asked this before, but I think I'm going to ask Randy at this point if presentations that we have can be in our agendas, because we have not been ever getting those. They're not in the minutes. And for transparency for the community, the only way, I mean, we're getting some of this by email, but the public doesn't have this
Yeah, I'm
in
sorry,
our
and
agendas. And this is where a lot of people do look for
Yep.
this.
Yeah, we reviewed this conversation or this presentation. We just reviewed it with Corsa and Arel last evening, and I should have sent it out at that point.
Well, I'm just saying it's not getting in our agendas or in any way before or after the meetings.
Jordan and I will work on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else for Quay? I just want to say Mr. Mezzi needs to leave at 10, so we need to move this along for the resolution. So, but go ahead, Corsa.
Yes, so in line with the presentation, we have put together a committee internally to work on the relocation. So the committee comprises assessment, facilities, IT, human resource, county attorney and county administration, and also Board of Elections. So as based on the resolution that was passed, we know the places that all the departments that are going to be in the center of government are going to go. The only department we are not aware of yet is the Board of Elections. So as part of the committee's mandate is to identify a suitable location that will fit the needs of the Board of Elections. So we are reviewing that. In terms of the relocated space, county administration and human resource will potentially move to Green Street to make way for IT to move to the old jail. To be on time or to stay on the timeline for the projects, we anticipate that to happen hopefully before the end of this month. The other location that we haven't identified yet is a swing space for assessment, as well as the Board of Elections, as I indicated. So we are thinking through either to get a temporary swing space for them or a permanent home for them. But a permanent home will require a lot of engineering and other things for that to be the permanent home in perpetuity. So most likely we will look for a swing space that will fit the needs of assessment as well as the Board of Elections. So that's where we are working on now. We have assigned ourselves up to the end of July to come up with a solution, to make sure all the lines are drawn up properly. So as I indicated, county administration and human resource will move to Green Street. IT will then do some outfit on the third floor of Old Jail and move to that location. And also the county attorney will still be at the old jail, but just a change in floors. And that is where we are. So we are meeting, I believe, we are exchanging information on June 9th, and we are meeting again on June 16th to firm up our decision points. And as I indicated, we hope to be able to have everything crossed out by end of July.
Thank you, Corsa. Any questions for Corsa? Mike?
You said a lot of things just now, and at some point, could we have that in writing? We're going to move this to there and this to there, that we could have sent to us by email or something?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ian Corman?
And just to clarify, I know you mean Green Street, the mental health building,
Yes.
right? Just to
Yes.
clarify that for the public. Thank you.
Yeah, fifth floor of the mental health building, yes.
Because they're vacant right now.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the plan. I think it's a good plan, so thank you. Next, we're moving on to the Center of Government Funding Plan and Mechanism. I'm not sure if that's anybody's plate or not.
So if I will, okay, I think it's a resolution, so maybe I think it's your.
Okay.
So in terms of if you want me to talk about a specific funding plan, I'm happy to start, but if you want to move the resolution before we discuss it.
We'll go ahead and move the resolution. I want to thank Norma for sending a document and data on all the capital plans that are out there today. And I reviewed it, and I'm confused, so I'll hook up with Norma on that. But there's a lot of good data there. Let me see. Okay, can I get somebody to move the resolution for approval of funding for the Center of Government? First by Ann, second by Mike. All in favor of moving the, or no, I'm sorry, discussion. There you go. Sorry about that.
Okay, so if I will kick off with the conversation, based on all the discussion we've had today, coming in, being here for 4.5 months, my thought process was that there is a clear objective to move ahead with the project of Center of Government. I think one of the first conversation with Holt was what will be an alternative location in case for any reason we are not able to build in downtown Ithaca. And I think the standing block at that point was what SHPO will say. And after the SHPO clarification and clearance of the project, the thought process was the project is moving forward as initially planned. And for us to be able to stay on the project timeline, we need to get the relocation done starting this month. And also, one of the things that Ariel explained to me over the course of the project and concerns in the city is removing the buildings downtown and not action being taken for us to proceed with the project. So there was that concern of deconstructing these buildings and then leaving the land or leaving the lot undeveloped. So the thought process was that we just want to have a clarity from the legislatures in terms of the commitment for the project as we move ahead with the process. And also, there is a lot of work to be done. This resolution is not a binding document on any contractual terms or anything. It's just a direction from all of you to tell us that there is a commitment for us to move the project forward. Every single decision point will come to you for review and approval, but we just need that backing of the project inception and also, for project continuity, and then all of us will commit to delivering the project on time and also hopefully on budget. There's a lot of unknowns at the moment with all the conversations in terms of tariffs and other things, so there's some degree of unknown element to the project work itself. But for us to be able to stay on course and make sure we're able to deliver the project on the 2029 expectation, there need to be a commitment. There is a need for that commitment to be made right now so that we can continue with the project process and not look back. I will put it that way.
Any questions or comments by me? Mike?
As far as I'm concerned, the train left the station on this 2 years ago. when the Facilities Infrastructure Committee voted on a divided vote at that time to move this thing ahead expeditiously. It then turned out that it was going to take a lot longer than some folks thought, particularly because of the SHPO's issue. I gotta go back a little ways further and say in the 1930s, there was a new county building built, which is the main courthouse now. And it was quite a thing for the then Tompkins County Board of Supervisors to take on in Depression era. There was a lot of antipathy toward that. I had somebody bring me in a big broadside paper that was circulated at the time about all the excessive spending that courthouse was going to cost. I still remember one of the things that they criticized in that was the brass mail chutes in the building that would from the top floor down to the collection area at the bottom. And yet they didn't build an elevator at that time. What I'm saying is I'm glad they did it. It was tough, and it was tough for the taxpayers, and it was tough for the people, but the county needed it. The county clerk's office was up where the history center is now, and the highway barn was pretty meager that they had back then for the county, and I don't even know where the DA's office was, for example, and we had the sheriff's office. We had a new jail built at that time, along with the courthouse. I'm just saying that anytime we build a major building is never going to be the right time financially because it's expensive. We've talked about this for well over 20 years. We've looked at it in different ways of trying to move forward with it. We went, when we took down the old library, there was an effort to maybe we should build the Center of Government building there, but there wasn't the appetite for it. I don't like the idea of spending $40 or $50 or $60 million, but it will last for a long time, just like the main courthouse is still very, very functional after going on 100 years, if you think about it. And I think we need to move ahead with this. I think that it's the right thing to do in the center, in the center of the county, in the middle of our county seat. No question that Ithaca has made it harder for people because of the narrow streets that it has and the lack of parking. People don't like parking garages, for example. Certainly, if we built somewhere else, we could have all kinds of parking, just like when they built TC3. But it needs to be accessible for people from Newfield and from Dryden and from Groton and from Caroline and Danby, as much equal as possible. And the center of Ithaca is the place to do that. I think we need to move ahead with it. We allocated, I think, $9 million this year?
Yes.
In our capital budget to bring on the Holt Architect firm to move ahead with this. And I just think that we have to make the decision to move this ahead now. And that, frankly, 100 years from now, people will be glad we did.
Annie, did you have a comment?
Yes, I could, thanks to my colleague, Mike Lane, for talking about some of the history. I know there's a lot more to it, but that's a nice summary, so thank you for that. And I am going to support this resolution, and I think it helps with the number of things that have already been stated, and I think we've talked about it here before, we wouldn't expect, and the city wouldn't expect a developer to take down other buildings without a strong commitment to be able to put something up there. I drive by, every time I come down to Ithaca, there's a place, the old Italian restaurant, Joe's, and I mean, there was things that happened. They had a commitment, but there were things that happened. But still, to see that vacant property is not what the community wants. It's not what the city wants, which totally makes sense. You know, if you're going to have a plan to do something, to make sure you do have the plan. And so this is our commitment to do that. And it's also, I believe, helps with SHPO too. So I'm glad we're doing this now, and thank you for bringing this forward.
Greg, did you have a comment? I have a question. So do we need to approve this resolution to get SHPO approval?
I think in terms of the resolution, no, we don't need to get a SHPO approval. SHPO, I think, it became a chicken and egg situation. We go out, we get a grant, and then the grant provider or administrator usually signs it off. But we are signing off before we go for any funding opportunity, so it became a chicken and egg issue. That's the only holdback on that right now. So for me, there's two things. As Mike said, he believes that 2 years ago, this commitment was made. And I think one of the reasons why we brought it up again now was the notion of this is not a commitment when we had a last resolution on space placement. And for us to move forward, we felt that we just want to re-emphasize that commitment so that we can move forward with what we're trying to do. You can, even if you decide not to even act on the resolution now, based on Mike's explanation, I believe that a commitment has been made, and all of you are really committed to the project because we have to make a move right now in relocating people department this month, and today is the 3rd. So we don't have, within the next 2 weeks, the first batch of the department has to move. That is the county administration. And we just want to see a clear objective on the grounds that we are just not moving to be for the sake of moving, but we are moving as part of the broader project commitment that is being laid out on the table. So I think this is re-emphasizing that commitment that was made 2 years ago.
Actually, the commitment was made probably 4 or 5 years ago when the county built or purchased the buildings here.
Yes.
That was when that was no turn back once you've done that. I would like to record the resolves from this resolution just so that people know what we're really voting on here. So I'm gonna actually read them. So resolved on a recommendation of the Downtown Facilities Special Committee that the Tompkins County Legislature approves funding of up to $50 million for the development of the Center of Government project to be located on the 300 block of North Tioga Street. Resolved further that Tompkins County Legislature authorize the county administrator or their designee to establish and lead an internal team to evaluate options and determine the best course of action for the relocation of the departments currently located at 128 East Buffalo Street, including assessment, Board of Elections, and Information Technology Services, ensuring minimal disruption to services in alignment with long-term facility planning goals, and resolve further that the Tompkins County Legislature require the county administrator or their designee in coordination with the facilities director and other staff to provide regular updates on the Center of Government development process, including any substantive, programmatic, or financial changes for review and consideration at the Downtown Facilities Special Committee. So my only issue is the $50 million and how that number was arrived at. Could you fill me in on how that number came up?
I think I will let Ariel speak to it.
So the that number is the total project cost, so it's not only the building construction. So it includes the professional services, basically the architectural engineering services. It includes the deconstruction, the abatement and deconstruction of the 3 buildings, 300, 308 North Tioga, and 128 East Buffalo Street. It includes the design of and construction of the Center of Government building. It also includes design and renovation of this building and the old jail. So it's all of those projects included and all the other soft costs associated with the project. So, so it includes the entire project. It's not just the building for you to understand that. I'm not sure if Quay, you have any?
Yeah, a couple other soft costs. It includes about $2 million of furniture that'll go in the new building and possibly back into the renovation. About $500,000 of AV equipment for the various conference rooms, $500,000 of IT infrastructure, sort of servers and head ends and cabling. I should have had the project budget open in front of me, but yeah, it's a complete project cost.
Perhaps we could get something in writing to share with the full legislature what that $50 million, how it's added up to for the meeting.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I think, as I indicated, every single project commitment contractual will come to you for review and approval. And this is more of an analysis at this point of what we think will be the bulk cost of the whole project. So remember, we haven't bid out anything yet. We haven't contracted any services apart from the architectural services that we have now contracted. So we will have clarity of the specific individual costs and of each of the project stage. And this is more of an analysis of space costs and also project projections at this time. Remember, the bulk of these expenses are in 2020, 2027, 2028, when we actually begin in the construction. Things could change then. But at this point, based on the current market condition, with some degree of adjustment in the numbers, that's what we think the project is going to cost at the end of it.
Greg?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'd like to see resolved in here or something, and maybe it's when we get to the full legislature that we add something we can think about, maybe wording that the 50 million is a combination of a capital stack made up of cash from capital reserves, bonding, state and federal grants if available, private foundation grant, like kind of list the thing out so that this could be misleading if somebody just reads this and says, okay, well, the county is going to pay $50 million for something. We hope that that's not the case. And I think there should be something that county administration and the project team will do everything within their ability to apply for available grants, funding, whatever the case may be, outside of bonding and county capital. So if there's some way that maybe between now and the legislature where we could do maybe an amendment at the legislature meeting, because I don't think we're prepared to do something today, and I think we should continue to move this forward. But I just want that capital stack to be clarified, that it's not just all county funds. There's a possibility that it could be all county funds, but that's a decision that we'd have to make if we realize that we weren't getting any additional grant funding, et cetera. But this is just to sort of kick things off. So if county admin maybe could work on some language that we could look at, I would feel better at the full ledge meeting adding that. And really, this is going to get re-litigated and discussed there. So I don't have many comments for today other than that.
Andy Corman?
Thank you. In addition to what was said, I'd be okay with that information myself, either added to the resolution as an amendment or part of the memo, because we talked about kind of adding information. So if there was a memo that kind of went along with it too, that stated the scope of the project, and these other things that Greg said about, where the funds, And if we had that memo, we could kind of, at the legislature meeting or before, kind of think about, would we want to add some of that to the resolution? Because the information would be there for us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have a question. So we specifically reserved $9 million. It's already been reserved in a specific account for this project. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we're using those funds now over the next few years before we use up those dollars, right? So it's not going to affect us
Yeah, that's
financially over the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's correct. So as part of the project funding itself, we are not borrowing anything this year, and we may be raising some bond towards the end of 2026. But there's sufficient funding allocated to the project at the moment, and we are good on what we're doing right now.
Okay. I agree with Greg and any of your comments that we should do those things. In looking, it would be very helpful for me to understand our true capital plan. And Norma gave a really good detail information for me. But to understand really the cost as it spreads out over 20 or 25 years, whatever we're doing. Yeah. It's really complicated. I know you're dealing a lot with all these capital programs and resolving a lot of that data, but I can't make sense of the dollars just by looking at it. So I think that's going to be important long-term for the public to see really how we plan this out and how it's not going to impact I don't think it's going to impact our taxes or whatnot over the long term, or very little. So,
yes.
Any other questions or comments for anybody? Seeing none, I thank Quay for coming and presenting that, and thank everybody for coming, and we're adjourned.
We need a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. So, sorry about that. All in favor of moving this forward?
Thank you.
That is approved. Now we're,
Randy, just to be clear, this won't be on the consent agenda because of the dollar amount. This will be under.
I will notify the clerk that it won't be on the consent agenda.
Yeah, just as long as it's not on the consent agenda.
right.
Yeah. Thanks.
Anything else? Did I miss anything?
No, I think for me, that's it.
Okay. All right. Sorry, buddy. We're adjourned.
All right, thank you.
I was supposed to be at 10 o'clock.